I'm Ryan Palmer, gear editor of Bike Magazine, and we're here at the coldest tiki bar in the world right now, maybe. We're in East Burke, Vermont. We're here riding the Kingdom Trails. And today you guys rode the Specialized Rime Comp Carbon 6Fattie, which is a plus-size bike. It's got 3-inch tires on it. It's based after the Rime Stump Jumper model, and it's got Boost 148 spacing to accommodate the bigger wheels and 110 up front. It's got a pretty good parts kit. This one is kind of the mid-level build, and this bike retails for $4,500. And what'd you guys think about the ride here on the Rudy Kingdom Trails?
Everyone's looking at me because we all have different opinions about this bike. And for me, this is the kind of bike I appreciate. This is not the bike. The person who's going to own this bike is not going to be running Strava. They're not going to have ride goals. They're not going to be talking about training zones. This is the kind of bike that just lets you choose absolutely stupid lines and have fun on them. I mean, it's a silly
monster
bike.
truck machine.
Yeah, it's a monster
It's very
truck.
fun.
It's made for having fun. Like, there's nothing zippy about this. It's just kind of silly and fun. Mm-hmm. And that is the kind of bike that I'm all about. Because I don't have ride goals.
It definitely, I mean, it just goes over anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just, you can seriously, like you were saying, pick any line and it'll go over it, climbing or descending. You know, it's just like, you can just take it anywhere, and that's why it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And you can really rail the corners too. There's so much traction because of that, you know, like that bigger contact patch.
Well, it's funny because some of the designers of Specialized bikes are real true shredders.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a couple guys there whose favorite bikes are now the Fatties. They run them and they've beaten all their Strava times and whatnot because they are actually Specialized is all about stuff.
Yeah.
You'll never see a Specialized employee without a GPS.
They have to.
Yeah.
I was surprised by a lot of things on this bike. I got on this bike and I was kind of just dreading climbing with it because I was like, oh, this bike's gonna be heavy and cumbersome, but it just motored up, no big deal, rolled over everything and was kind of fun. I kind of was looking around oh, this is pleasant. Would you ever have this be your bike? No, I wouldn't personally, but I was surprised by it. Yeah, it was. I would choose, so that's why it's better than you think it's going to. You're
it doesn't climb fast, but it climbs well.
Climbs well.
And
that's okay. I'm not racing to the top, so I don't care.
Right. You know? And I feel like the person who this bike is made for this bike is an instant confidence booster.
Yeah.
You know, again, you stop worrying about losing traction.
If somebody's asking me about, what bike they should buy, I guess I would maybe have a hard time recommending this over, running a 27.5 with a wider rim and a wider tire, like a 2.4 tire. To me, there's not a really vast difference there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So I mean, I guess it's good that there are options and you can sort of buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
But there are sacrifices, and your sacrifices with this are that it's not going to be fast on the climbs. It definitely doesn't accelerate fast. Sometimes between the suspension of the tires and the suspension of the bike, that's a lot of suspension you have going on. And then what I did find confusing about this bike is it feels like it was designed to boost confidence, but it has this 13-inch bottom bracket, which I think is the result of this frame was originally designed for 29-inch tires or 29-inch wheels. And so now with this setup, it does have a low bottom bracket, keeps it stuck really close to the ground, but the cranks at the end are a little ground up, and I definitely I would be zooming along very confident and then just clank my pedals into something. Yeah. And I was not a fan of that. It was just counter to everything else that this bike is about for me.
I equate it from going from a fully rigid bike to a full suspension bike, and how much that changed the way I rode.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the next shift for me. I'm oh, I have all this extra traction, and I can go up and over everything. The acceleration isn't as good, but it's not I don't feel like it's anything that like really slows me down. Plus,
Mhm.
I get so much extra traction that I feel like, as far as like an energy kind of output thing, it's almost like a net zero.
And it's a well-spec'd bike. I thought it was, you definitely, to get a carbon frame with those parts on it for $4,500 it's a
Yeah.
good deal for sure.
Yeah, I had a SRAM 1x11.
Yeah, they did the
I liked
GX,
GX.
which I think was, I think it's the only bike we rode with the GX spec on it. And
The
great.
spec, I have
Like-
no complaints about any of the spec. It was
Right.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good.
It's one of those bikes that not many, I don't think many people are going to be like, nah. It's either just not the bike for you, or it's definitely
Or
the
it's
bike
totally
for
the
you.
bike for you.
Yeah.
There's no gray area
And
on
I've-
this one.
Yeah.
I've seen some friends of mine who, their biggest barrier to really enjoying mountain biking was that confidence. Of, someone, I have a friend who had a really bad wreck just washing out in a corner, and sometimes it can be hard to get over a really bad wreck. And for her, getting a bike like this, gave her that spark for mountain biking back.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely not the bike for everyone.
Would
but
you
if it's
think
the bike
it's-
for you,
Yeah, do you think it's like beginners, or that's kind of one thing I thought was, the plus size sort of trend would be really good for people maybe just starting out, or
Yeah.
I think it's just for a less aggressive kind of rider. I don't think it's for a beginner per se. I think it's somebody who can
Right.
know how to ride a bike, or a beginner, but somebody who just wants to. It's just not, your focus isn't just like aggro riding. You just want to enjoy the ride. Like, I
Right.
was enjoying this bike. I was enjoying the climb. I was enjoying the descent. I was like, it's fun. It's not my fastest ride ever, but it was an enjoyable ride.
There you have it. That's the Specialized Rime Comp Carbon 6Fattie. For more bike tests, go to bikemag.com and check out our print issue on newsstands in January.